Sorry, I literally I haven't put my lenses in today, so I kind of I've got these big glasses here. Actually, they look okay. I don't know for the
They work.
yeah.
They work, especially since they're kind of gold and they match your shirt.
Yes, yeah. Normally I wear black to make myself slimmer, but I wasn't having a Zoom day today. But no, it's I just go orange today. So it's got. Oh, you had a rebrand as the hoodie guy now.
Yeah. So check.
Oh wow. Oh,
So
that's cool.
I'm literally the hoodie guy. I now have 7 hoodies with different colors, and we're rebranding the team to the Hoodie Gang.
Okay. Oh, that's amazing. So, no, that's cool. It works with the whole well, just everything's changed, hasn't it, since COVID? Like everything's kind of less kind of
Suited and booted.
formal and I like it. It's a lot better actually, isn't it? Kind of a lot of things are a lot less kind of formal. I went to a big conference on Friday, and kind of like everybody wasn't as kind of like tied up as and it was a bit more open collar kind of. I wore like a t-shirt with a kind of suit jacket, but no, I mean even at kind of like seminars and stuff now, people are more kind of chilled out. Um,
I
you know.
think Zoom and COVID did wonders for losing the suits.
Mm.
If
Did
you're,
you ever do the whole kind of suit with the shorts? In COVID, like a lot of people did.
I actually, on a couple of calls I had, my tie, my shirt, and my shorts and my slops. Um,
Ah,
you can't see from here up down. So the only problem is when the doorbell rings and I have to stand up. Then you can see I've got shorts and slops, but it's like everybody sees you on Zoom knows you're going to be in shorts. You're going to be more casual. Most of us are working from home, or most of the people I work with. Actually, a couple of the corporates, I do meet them in their offices, well, Zoom offices,
mm.
but I'm still wearing the hoodie because I kept rocking up into meetings, putting on my collar for the first meeting, and then the second meeting, I'm in a hoodie. And I was like, screw that. I'm just going to go
Yeah.
hoodie from the word go.
It's just authentically you, and I think like people respect kind of authenticity now, don't they? Kind of more so than anything, and I just think yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, I kind of take that on board as well because I used to think I sometimes love dressing up in a suit because you walk down the street and people look at you differently, and you've kind of got you feel powerful, but it's so kind of it's so kind of tuned into us, or maybe kind of is it the education system or something like that that you kind of respect, kind of uniforms and suits and stuff. But no, actually, I've realised that a lot of these kind of, the billionaires, the sort of the century millionaires, these kind of really powerful people, they just wear what they want. I mean, of course, for the headshots, they might wear a suit or something,
Yes.
but they just wear what they want. It's
Elon
cool.
Musk is like, you watch him walking around Starbase. I follow Elon Musk because I love Starbase, and he's in a t-shirt and jeans pretty much all the time. When he gets onto stage to announce a new car, he wears a jacket, and that's the only change. Still wears t-shirt and jeans, trainers, and a jacket and a hat. And I think if you're in a work environment that says wear a uniform, which is a suit, a collar, and a tie, then sure. And I agree with you. If I was not as fat as I am, I would love to walk down London Main Road, walking through Liverpool streets, like wearing a proper 3-piece suit.
Oh, do you know that's the thing about suits as well? Obviously, I can speak for the slightly larger man. I don't think I'm a little bit fatter than you. I reckon I'm pretty sure. But yeah, suits don't quite, especially also I go to the gym, so kind of when you put a bit of muscle on and stuff like us guys, a bit bigger. It's it's the suits tend to appeal better
Unless
for
it's
the sort of
tailored,
slimmer person, right?
but if you have a tailored suit, and I've got a friend who knows all the bespoke places in London, and I said, when the business makes a certain level and I've lost the weight that I'm chasing, I'm going to go get a bespoke suit and a bespoke pair of shoes.
You know what? I've got some great tailors. I can give you links and stuff to them. And but the only thing is, I tend to find, like, I had a suit tailored um literally before COVID, and now retrospectively, that was the worst thing I could probably do. I mean, because now I put it on and it's kind of, even though it's tailored to you, if you've tailored yourself and you've sort of slightly put on weight, or, actually, I actually I lost a bit of weight because I got quite big, and then I lost a bit of weight, and then I've put it back on, and it's kind of yeah, that's the terrible thing. Unless you get some tailors like Tom James, sort of quite a big American sort of tailor companies worldwide, and they tend to do it where they kind of put these adjustment bands. So they cut, you can kind of slightly alter it. If you've maybe had a really big meal or something like that. But no, I mean, I'm yeah. The annoying thing is I've had a couple tailored suits, and actually one I got done in Malta when I lived over in Malta, and it was a really old tailor, and he just kind of bodged it up, and it's always been too small, and I felt too embarrassed to say. Um, and so that one was kind of a bit of a waste of money. And then I got a really good one done in London, like I say, before COVID. But the trousers, obviously they're the right kind of obviously the right length and everything. I'm a little bit kind of shorter to my kind of width, but yeah, the trousers are a little bit baggy, and so yeah, I think if I did get another one, I just tend to wear the suit jacket now, and it goes well with jeans and everything. But yeah, I mean, good. We're not in a kind of society now that kind of needs that, unless you're going into the corporate environment or something like that. But hey, man, what's new in kind of LinkedIn? Because I'm sort of, obviously LinkedIn sort of comes into my every day, but it's not something that we do as an agency. So it's kind of really cool to know sort of. I was actually just reading an article, kind of how to utilize LinkedIn. I know that I certainly don't really utilize it. I sort of post things up and stuff like that, but it's a bit of a kind of hit and miss. And so I guess, just doing this kind of video today, it'd be great to bounce ideas off you, see kind of for anybody kind of watching the video, that's probably if you've come onto my channel, or sort of Big Wolf Marketing channel, it's very much about sort of telemarketing, lead generation, in the sense of sort of reaching out to prospects. But sometimes inbound is the same, if not better, in many respects, because you're kind of, by utilizing content which is relative to the prospects and kind of what they're looking for, the challenges that they have, they engage with it better, and they sort of reach out. But of course, there is an element of outreach as well on LinkedIn, isn't there? Sort of in the sort of the messages that you do. But I mean, kind of with a LinkedIn strategy, I guess there's multiple elements to it, isn't there? So there's the content is one, but then you've got the outreach. I mean, what do you tend to find, as a kind of like a LinkedIn expert? What do you tend to find sort of works better, or is it different for different types of customers?
So I've been fiddling. Fiddling
Oh,
is the wrong term. I mean, I play in LinkedIn and I practice in LinkedIn and I work in LinkedIn. And yes, my entire business is geared around LinkedIn. Um, but I've come to a couple of conclusions over the last 4 years working in LinkedIn. And they're not what everybody seems to say is the normal of what you should do. I mean, I was one of the people who drank from the Kool-Aid, who said, if you want to make money on LinkedIn, you've got to post every single day. You've got to go and spend 15 to 20 minutes on everybody's profile, engaging with their stuff, doing all of that stuff. The problem is it's extremely time consuming, and the return on investment is slow and tedious. Why? Most, I'm going to say 99.9% of people write like their asses. They can't write to save their lives. I mean, I'm not even going to be nice about that. The content sucks. So they get sucked into this wheel of, you need to spend money and investment and time on creating this amazing content. And you've got to do it every day. The only people who are making money out of that are the content providers. Most people can't get content to a level where it generates inbound on a regular basis. So we're kind of like, okay, throw that out of the way because it's wasting time. I'm now If I post once, twice, 3 times a week, I'm happy. I spend more time finding or curating better content. So people have done all the hard lifting. I add my 2 cents worth. I make a comment about why I think that repost is worth a repost from me. I don't just repost it, I repost it with thoughts. And my audience loves it. I mean, if you look at my content, you'll see I'm getting a lot of engagement. It's not just that I've got 9,000 followers. It's they're actually talking to me. We're having conversations. And when you look at LinkedIn, which depending on who you are, most people won't look at it like this. So we've broken LinkedIn into four little sections. Everything on LinkedIn is about relational capital and building a conversation. You can't have a conversation if you don't have anything to talk about. So that's why you need content, like once or twice a week, something to talk about. I mean, if I read a post of yours and I go and look, they don't care what you're selling. That's something we can talk about because you wrote that article. Immediately, we're not like, oh man, so what do you do? So what do you, so how long have you been working here? You know, those mind-numbing networking questions. You want to have something to talk about. So that's what you create content for. Then
I like that. Yeah, no, I like the concept. I never thought about that actually, kind of the curating style, because yeah, you're right. I think so many people spend a lot of time trying to write stuff they think people want to hear. And sometimes they get it wrong. If they get it right, like you say, it's rare, and you know, you can't have those kind of jackpots every day. And so I think it does make sense if you see something that's really good and really works and really relates. There's no kind of shame in utilizing that and kind of curating it and kind of bringing it to people's attention and say, hey, this is why this is good. I really like that. Yeah, no, that works really well because like you say, yeah, I do see people and they post as much as they possibly can, and it just, you know, sometimes it works but sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes it can look desperate, can't it, you know? But yeah, I think by kind of that's a nice tip actually. I think I've thank you for that. No, that's really cool because I do see a lot of good stuff. You know, you can't go on there now and kind of not see good stuff, and it tends to, I don't know if it's the algorithm or whatever, but it does tend to kind of come to the top, doesn't it? And so I guess if you're, you know, kind of using that and kind of, you know, further sharing it with your networks and saying, hey, this is what I've seen, this is cool, this is why, and kind of adding your expertise on top, it's sort of yours again then, isn't it? Because I guess knowledge and information, tactics, methods, they're pretty much they're very. I mean, there's a saying. I forgive me, I don't know the actual quote or whatever, but the feel of it is the information and knowledge is kind of you know, is never kind of invented. It's kind of whatever kind of sales expert or marketing expert, unless it's a new technology, you're always kind of just kind of, you know, re-saying it in a different way, aren't you? So it's that's a really good tool. That's a really good tool. So yes, tell me more about the kind of the messaging side of things, the kind of the outreach side. How does that sort of work, and what sort of changes have you seen?
I'm going to come back just one more point on that, on the content. When you talk to brand experts, and I'm by no means a brand expert, but I am a small business and costs are important. And I don't always have, and I know a lot of your audience and a lot of my audience don't have the budget to spend on a brand expert. They need sales today, now, not branding for sales tomorrow. And everybody talks about their USP. And I just smile to myself because they miss the real USP, which is them. Like Big Wolf Marketing, the USP around Big Wolf Marketing is Pierre, because Pierre brings his energy, his power to the business. That's the USP. I mean, direct calling, cold calling, everybody does it. And I mean, you watch Will Aitken, I know, I do, and I watch them doing the live cold calling, and they've all got tips and tactics on how to do cold calls. But at the end of the day, it's their personality that comes through. That's the USP. And when I talk to companies and I talk to clients and they're like, I'm like, just listen to your story. Who are you? What's your backstory? That's why people buy you. They didn't buy you because you made an awesome coffee cup. They bought you because the way you solved their problem was your unique way of presenting yourself. And that's in line with what you're saying. Yes, there's a lot of stuff that we all say is the same shit. But when I present it as myself, that's when it becomes unique. And it's like I sit there and I watch, and people are frustrated because they can't get their messaging right. They can't get their content right. So they spend time and time and time trying to get it right, losing sight of the fact that actually they're the USP. They go eventually. I mean, I've had conversations with a guy who said to me, he's been on LinkedIn for 7 years. He's never had one lead.
Wow.
I'm going, and I'm sure he's not the only one. I'm kind of like, I'm doing 7 to 10 leads a week. I'm not sure what you're doing wrong, but actually, I know what you're doing wrong, but we won't go there. So what's happened is I kind of gone, okay, businesses need to focus on getting results. So what do? They do LinkedIn, they check the box. They make a pretty profile, they check the box. Then they take their money and they give it to Google, and they do pay per click with a click-through rate of maybe 1 to 4%. On LinkedIn, we found a way to get a click-through rate of 12 to 15% at a flat fee and not a cost per click. So we're getting more conversations going. And if you're in cold calling, I mean, you're in cold calling, you know, a conversation that is like, hey, Pierre said I should give you a call because you're looking for some new contract signing software. Well, that's going to go down a lot easier because I know Pierre, so I'm going to listen to you. But if it's like, hi, are you the right person to speak to about this? Do you have 10 seconds? I mean, it's hard, and you've got to get through the gatekeepers. So what we've done is we've found a way to get through the gatekeepers. We get through 40 of them every single day for every client that we work on. And we've spent time developing our prospects offer so that the people want to talk to them. Because a lot of people use this term, and I'm sorry if I'm preaching to the choir, but you know, everybody says lead magnet, lead magnet, lead magnet. It's a free lead magnet. And it's never free, because that person who looks at that lead magnet is paying you with their time.
Yeah.
And if you don't think about that, then you just create, and nobody reads ebooks. Please, anybody, somebody tell me they've downloaded an ebook and read it cover to cover. I challenge you, just one, tell me they've done that. In your audience, in my audience, I know they don't exist. But if you look at my hard drive, I've got gigs of ebooks and lead magnets I've downloaded. I mean, I'm sure you got the same, Pierre.
Well, yeah, no, definitely. And the crazy thing is, and I found this, and it's a sales psychology thing. If you make someone pay for something, there's a lot more kind of value that they pertain to that. So they're a lot more likely, even if they pay it, a pound, a euro, whatever, if they've actually had to make that transaction, there's a level of trust that in you that they make, and it's really strange. Yeah, I think there's so many people kind of giving these free ebooks and stuff, and I guess they work as kind of like a magnet, because people, don't generally think, oh, I won't read it, but they never tend to. Like you say, no one's ever really kind of read it back to front. But it is that vehicle to sort of see interest and see engagement, and then be able to sort of follow them up.
So again, this is the tech stack argument versus the reality argument. I speak to sales directors, revenue directors, and outside of the office, you get to hear the real numbers, not the touted numbers, the quota numbers. And when they say they get 8 meetings in a month for a sales rep as a new meeting, they're like, that's good going. I mean, that's 2 a week. I've been in sales all my life. If I saw 2 new cold prospects every single week, I'd be smiling, because people don't do that. Real prospecting, real cold calling, I reckon they're happy if they get 1 or 2 a week, some weeks of a month, maybe 3, some weeks of a month. They're just calling their old accounts, they're recycling, because the reality is you can only process, I think, so many sales in a month. As much as we'd like to be smashing them out every day, yeah, you watch Boiler Room and you watch all these great, amazing guys. That's not the norm. That's not reality.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I definitely think it comes down to numbers, and and that's the difficulty. That's where they're paying for the expertise, aren't they? You know, kind of whether it's outreach and whether there's a strategy to maybe using multiple accounts to have multiple outreach with LinkedIn. If it's telemarketing, it's the likes of us, making hundreds of calls a day to even have maybe sort of 10% of decision maker conversations to then
Hey, hey,
move
Pierre,
that forward.
that word, decision maker conversations.
Mm.
How many dials do you have to make to get a decision maker conversation?
Well, I mean, we tend to find it's around about 10%, for every sort of 10 calls, because you've got the gatekeeper, you've got voicemail, no answer, and everything in between. So yeah, it's about 10%. And then when you think, a lot of people don't realize, when you think about telemarketing, you have to have a high ticket product because, if we're calling 200 companies in a day, for example, we're having maybe, if we're lucky, 20 decision maker conversations, of which then you've got to think, well, actually, are they in the marketplace for the product or service? Do they kind of align with the challenge that this offering or this product could be a solution for? And if it's not a kind of like a problem solution offering and it's just a nicety, then how do we kind of emotionally connect that with them? And so, you tend to find, I mean, we tend to find that, there can be from decision maker conversation to conversion of to lead or to request for information or to appointment. I mean, it can really vary depending on what you're selling, of course, but anything from sort of 1 in 20 to 1 in 5 to 1 in 4. It's very likely that we have a sort of a 1 in 2 kind of conversion rate, unless it's something you're giving something free, which is very rarely the case. And it's got to be of significant value. It's got to be of significant meaning, and it's probably got to be relative now. And those kind of elements very rarely kind of align into a sort of an offering, which is, and still, even if you're giving something free and it's amazing, you're probably going to get people going, well, why like why and people don't want, I guess it comes back to what I said before, people like to pay for things, and oddly I think people like to be sold to, don't they? But it's just this process, and it's getting it right. And I guess from a telemarketing perspective, I guess we know how to get it right, to get it to that point. And it's the same with with LinkedIn, obviously being an expert as well, you kind of knowing how to do it. And I guess there's always this kind of dubious doubt that companies and people have when they don't know how to do it. For example, you said,
It's, it's
yeah,
actually worse. It's not even that. Can you imagine as a call center doing outbound calling, if I gave you 300 conversations waiting for your call and you
wow, yeah,
decided not to dial them?
that would, yeah, it'd be crazy, wouldn't it?
And that's what I find with clients that I work with on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
We start in a month 300 conversations. They don't pick up the conversation. And you are the lead gen. You sitting there and you're going, what?
Yeah.
You, you're telling me the guy wants to talk to me and nobody's talking back to him?
Mm.
And so to that conversation, to that expertise, whether it's cold calling, whether it's LinkedIn, people want to be sold to.
Mhm.
There are enough numbers out there and they are making themselves available. You just got to find the right channel. And what I'm finding with people is LinkedIn gets that warmth, the authenticity. There's still a phone call. Sooner or later, there has to be a voice. And when you pull that data out after I've had two or three interchanges, the person is expecting the call. I mean, I've had the privilege of talking to a gentleman who runs a 36 million pound company, and he was on the road and he responded to two or three of my texts via LinkedIn, and then he was like, "Just phone me," and he gave me his mobile number. I was like, "Okay," so I phoned him. To your point, you have to have the voice call. And I went through the gatekeepers. I missed the gatekeeper. I missed everybody. I went straight to the top because LinkedIn gave me that conversation. And I think while we talk about this, I think a lot of people need to take stock of the reality, and the reality is they're not going to pick up those conversations. They're
Yeah.
scared.
Yeah, that's right. You know, the crazy thing, I mean, we've had clients before, and we've created lots and lots of appointments for them, and then they've been scared to actually do the appointments, which sounds crazy, but I guess it's one of those things, is it? Not everybody can, I guess, be kind of confident and know how, and it's kind of, it's one thing kind of creating them or having the platform to generate these potential prospects. It's another thing. It's what's the famous adage, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make them drink, and that's exactly it. And like you say, I think what today is very much about, I mean, the cutting edge of sort of sales. People understand that it's generally using sort of multiple channels. So it's using LinkedIn to engage with people initially, or maybe doing some other kind of campaign initially, and then it's about having those calls. So it's kind of the collaboration of the two. But of course, however you do it, you've got to put that personality to, to the prospect, and because people buy from people, whether it's initially kind of digitally, or on the phone. It's that kind of conversation, because any purchase is an emotional, really. Yes. And the more high value you go, the more kind of trust that you need to instill in a prospect, and the greater the kind of the risk for them, isn't it? So yeah, I mean, what kind of tips or techniques would you kind of, when it comes to that sort of initial outbound message? A lot of people will kind of want to know, well, okay, what's the right way to do it? Because of course there's lots of people that do it from a kind of a cold email perspective, and they say this is how you should, outset an email. And the interesting thing I find, Ken, and you'll probably be able to kind of shine a lot more light on this. The funny thing I find when it comes to email cold emails, when someone comes out as this kind of expert and says, hey, this is how you do it, you then next month get a million emails saying exactly the same thing, and you just think, oh wow. And then you just know, you know not even to open the email. So how do you, I guess the cool thing is with LinkedIn, that it's kind of not short form content, but it's kind of shorter sort of nuggets, isn't it? You're not kind of going as sort of big email, are you, with the outreach?
LinkedIn is social selling, and I think the emphasis is on social. And I use the term relational capital because it's about relationships. And LinkedIn gives me the opportunity. And one of the things I do is, I mean, it sounds tedious, but I will go and look at a prospect. I'll do a search in Sales Navigator, find my list of prospects. Sales Navigator is worth the money if you use it. Um,
Okay, can I just jump in there? Because I keep seeing it advertised to me, actually, and I always think, oh yeah, it's a couple hundred. What's the difference? I mean, what would you
£66
get?
a month.
Okay, right, okay, £66. I didn't know that.
So it's not expensive. If you have you ever had Sales Navigator?
I can't say I have. No, I had LinkedIn Premium ages ago. I had like the kind of the trial of it and everything. I didn't. I mean, and I guess this is probably why we should be having this conversation. Is I don't tend to. I tend to spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. A little bit like I used to back in the day on Facebook. It's kind of one of those things where you kind of hang out and you kind of read news and stuff. But I don't utilize it like I should. But so no, I mean, what kind of? I know
I've
that
just
I'm quite limited, but.
I've just sent you a 2 month free trial.
Oh well, okay. Oh, fantastic. Thank you very much. So what do you get then? So you get additional messages, or what do you?
You get additional connections, so I can send out to 40 people a day,
Okay.
which means I can connect with 40 random strangers every day. Well, not random, but you know what I mean. Um, Sales Navigator allows me, and think of it this way: as a cold call person, you need to clean through the data. You need to find data lists with telephone numbers, job criteria, specs. You do all of that. You take all that same spec and you throw it at Sales Navigator. It gives you a list, but the difference is it can give you turnovers for free. It can give you staff growth. So if you're targeting a sales department or the accounts department, you can actually see on Sales Nav, has that department grown or shrunk? You're able to see the technology that a company is using. So if you're selling service type software to manage a managed IT help desk, you can actually see what softwares those companies are using. And that's all for £66 a month.
Well, that's cool.
You have millions of records that you have access to. So it's and you can actually download all the records, ironically. But I didn't say that. But just forget about that part of the conversation. So you go into Sales Nav, you find all the people. Once you found the people, you follow a very simple 3-day process. Day one, I check out Pierre's profile. I'm sorry, I'm using you. I follow your profile. I look at your content. I like a post. I leave a comment. I don't ask to connect you. I leave you alone. Come back tomorrow or the day after. I do the same thing again. Now, if you're active, you'll go to who's viewed my profile and you'll go, shit, Kenneth's been back at my profile twice. You're expecting me already. Day 3, I come in there, I look at the stuff, I say, hey, Pierre, I love your profile. I had a look at this and this and this. I see we're in the same space. We share X amount of connections. I'd love to connect. What are you going to say? No? Because you've seen me come around. You've seen me like your posts. People are addicted to dopamine. Dopamine, when somebody goes, I like your post, you're like, ooh, that's nice. When somebody leaves a comment, you go, hey, somebody's said something. It does. It makes you feel good. Now I've done that 3 days running. You've already warmed up to me subconsciously.
I do tend actually, I get that. A few people, I'll put a post out and I see that someone's liked it and I think, oh, okay, who'd that put, and it makes you check out their profile, and so that's interesting. Yeah. And I do see that people do that a little bit as a kind of I guess a tactic, but it works, I think it does, it's a sales psychology thing, right?
Anybody, if you walk into, sorry, I'm not a good looking guy, but if a good looking person walks into a pub and smiles at somebody who is, let's say hypothetically a 9 walks into a pub and smiles at a 5, the 5's going to be like, hey, shoulders back, sit up, like, oh, this is so cool. That's what happens on LinkedIn when somebody leaves a comment. You suddenly feel like a 10 has just said hi to a 5. And you get that. And yes, we do that consciously. And then we add a little something in to really sweeten the transaction before we start sales. As we go to the company page. So let's say you're targeting the owner of a business. Company pages get no love, no comments, maybe 2 if they're lucky. So when a comment is made, 2 people get excited. The marketing team who created the content and the owner of the business. So what do? We go into the company that we're targeting and we'll leave a comment on the company page, but we'll tag the owner of the business.
Okay.
So I've connected with him. I've looked at his posts. I haven't tried to sell him shit. And now I've gone to his company page and I've said something. He's going to be like, I love this dude. I'm working on one key assumption though. Yeah. And everybody else is watching. This is so important. Your profile has to be about how you solve your ideal client's problems. If your profile is, ooh, I'm so good. Ooh, I've got so much experience. Ooh, I've been doing this for 25 years. I'm a sales rep with 25,000 years of proven sales experience. I'm hitting my quotas. Nobody's going to come to you. But if it's solving a problem, like in, what was that, Wolf of Wall Street, the whole pen example, if you can solve that kind of a problem, and when I read your profile, I go, you get me. Oh, and you've shown me love. Oh, and you've shown my company page love. When you pick up the phone, email me, or ask me directly in LinkedIn Direct Messenger to have a 30-minute get to know you call, I'm probably going to say yes.
You're going to be more kind of receptive to that messaging as well. And do you know what? If people are watching this from a telemarketing perspective, there's a good little trick actually. Well, I hate the word trick actually, kind of like a sales method. And you probably know this, Ken, but is if someone accepts your invite, as you've kind of sent them the message, when you call through and you get that sort of gatekeeper scenario, you can coyfully or kind of playfully say, oh, he's expecting my call. And they'll be like, okay, right. And they'll put you through. And even if you do get through to that person, let's say for whatever reason, he just clicked like, connect, you can always say, "Oh, apologies. I thought you'd be aware that I might be giving you a call because we connected on LinkedIn." Or they might be aware and they've actually straight away like, "Oh yeah, I saw you just like that," and they perhaps have checked out your profile. And like you say, if you've been making sort of the strategic comments or the likes or the genuine kind of appreciation for what they do and their business, they're then going to be more receptive to actually having that conversation with you. They're going to feel a little bit more rude to kind of say, "I don't have time," or blah blah blah. Or even if they don't have time, they'll say, "Hey, look, Ken, let's have a call at another time," or "Thank you for reaching out, but I mean, could you drop me an email or something?" It's not going to be cold, is it? So it's definitely going to help. And so yeah, I just thought I'd put that little trick. Again, I shouldn't say trick because I hate the word trick. It's method.
It's a tip, and I would echo that tip by saying when somebody connects with you and they accept your connection, the courteous and the correct thing to do is not to send them a text message saying, "Hey, Pierre, thanks for connecting." The actual best thing to do in the world is to take your phone, do a little video saying, "Hey, Pierre, really cool of you to connect with me. Thank you. I'm going to be following your content. Have an awesome week." They've heard my voice, they've seen my face. When I do what you just said, "Hi, he's expecting my call." They know my voice, they know who I am. Once I've had a video, that person's in my head. If I get a text, I couldn't tell you. I mean, I get thousands of texts. I couldn't tell you, but I don't get thousands of videos. And
And
those videos make
that
it.
is really interesting because there's a few new tools out there, isn't there? You'll probably be able to list them off like this, but from a kind of a social selling perspective, that kind of gives you almost what we miss from the olden days of sales, where you used to go out and meet people. And I guess it gives you this kind of, maybe even in a more powerful way, because it comes over on media and we're so used to watching TV, we're so engaged in content. When someone sends you a message, it's like, wow, I'm actually connecting with this person, albeit kind of visually. Someone's putting their face, their voice, their time to you, they're customizing it to you, and they're sort of acknowledging your time. And I think, yeah, I think that works really well. What tools are there then to do that? I mean, obviously you wouldn't use YouTube, you would.
So there people talk about a lot of tools, and um, honestly, I've gone through a lot. I don't remember all their names. I've settled on one. Why? Because it has in video actions that lead to meetings. It has in video animations. It is a screen recorder and a presenter. It can grab a PowerPoint. It can upload videos. It can download videos. It can share across all social media platforms. And it's like $19 a month.
Oh, wow.
And that's for the Business Pro version. And it's Vidyard.
Video, okay. Yeah, I think I've heard of that. Yeah.
I use it every day. It shows me who's watched the video, shows me how far they've watched the video. Um, it's a powerful tool. And if you've got demos, if you're trying to get through the front door, not everybody is ready for you to come through the front door. Vidyard keeps that conversation warm, because when the person's going through their feed, they just see text, 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 boom, there's a picture of you in video. They're like, "Oh shit," and they go back into that. And that's what a lot of people miss, is that face that presents. And that's why they just stick to text. And people are scared. I don't know why. You go to a networking event, I go to a networking event, we're fine. We'll go and shake hands, we'll have a conversation. But do you think we can do that on LinkedIn? No.
Well, no, and the thing is, it's a lot harder, isn't it, to say no, or not even to say no to email. It's you can just ignore email, right? And then when it comes to the phone, it's a bit harder because there's someone who's a person, and if you're not great with people, kind of if you're having a conversation, they can feel a little bit kind of led along. But then if you've got video, it's a person, it's a video, they've taken the time. So I guess it adds on that as well. I guess there's the they can sort of not watch the whole thing, or they can kind of leave it, but I guess it does have that effect, doesn't it? And I guess it's a really good way to best utilize your time. And I like you, I love kind of networking and meeting people, because it's kind of you get you have conversations, you find more things out about people. But I think with video, the fact that you're taking the time, to reach out to them, you're kind of giving them that, and you're using your time more efficiently because, we all know a lot of these networking events can be great, but sometimes you can go and you can spend all day. You can get a new suit. You can you can jump in the car, put fuel in the car. You can spend hundreds of pounds going to these things and get nothing but people wanting to sell to you. So I think if you can take control and kind of best utilize your time with a tool like this, and with LinkedIn strategy, I think, because there's a lot of people still going out there and kind of networking as the prime thing of what they do. And I would argue that I think, don't stop that, because that might be what you do, and maybe that's how you run your business, but also try something like this, also try LinkedIn, try telemarketing, all these different types of things.
I I went to a networking event for the first time in 3 years, 2 weeks ago Friday. The reason I went is because Gary Player was speaking and I wanted to see Gary Player speak. There was probably 200 people. I mixed with a whole bunch of people. I didn't go to network. I went to listen to Gary speaking. A lot of people do this. This is how they do their business. The problem I find with that is, like LinkedIn, you are your USP, but you've got to move through so many people. I wrote the entire Friday off to go to the event, which means for a whole Friday, I could only social with the amount of people at my table when we were having lunch. I could only mingle with so many people. And then it's loud, it's noisy. You don't get time for a proper conversation. You hope you made a damn good impression because they'll remember you. I remember two people. The one guy, because he sells flowers, and I've never met a florist that's worth millions. Honestly, I've never.
Wow.
And he sells a lot of flowers. Like seriously, they've got a massive flower empire, and that stuck with my head. And I'm not going to do business with him, but it was interesting. Do I go networking? No. Do I network? Every single day, I'm networking with at least 40 new people. And I just, your return on investment for networking, LinkedIn beats in-person LinkedIn. I mean, in-person networking. If you go to a smaller network group, I think the problem is we're so stuck in doing what we've always done that we'd rather keep doing it because it's comfortable. I mean, I went into LinkedIn. I used to be a salesman. I say that. I used to be a cold call salesman. I used to do 112 to 120 phone calls a day. I hated every single call. I really
Stuff, yeah.
sucked at the business. It takes a very special kind of person to do what you do, to be able to pick up that phone, push through all of that negative stuff being thrown back at you. And you're right. Occasionally you get a bluebird, but more often than not, it's go get knotted in different tones, languages, various different expletives. It's a tough job and it's a thankless job. I don't think people realize. I mean, I run a business. I have people on my side that sell for me. I appreciate how hard it is when I get a cold call. I try to be polite, but sometimes I get a cold call from a person who can't speak English, doesn't listen to me, and runs off I'm like, right, I'm not talking to you, goodbye. But when I get a call, I've had a couple of calls where a person phoned me and they could speak and they had a conversation with me. I was like, I'd actually listen to the person because I know it's hard. And they
Definitely.
use that, which is unfair because then I end up going, okay, I'll have the appointment, or okay, I'll buy the product. Because salesmen we're suckers. We're easy to be sold to.
No, definitely. And there is this kind of illusion that people don't want to be sold to. And yeah, I mean, people kind of don't really want to have conversations on the phone and stuff. But, if you can and, you're clever and you use your personality to, to kind of better relate with somebody and actually get straight to the point. And I guess one of my tips, I guess, for anybody who is obviously doing cold calling, or maybe, they've got some LinkedIn, sort of engagement, and now it's time to reach out to them, them. I think that the best thing to do, whether it's cold or even actually if it's kind of an engaged prospect, is when you first speak to someone, is to say, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. And certainly if it's a cold call, is to say, look, I appreciate your time. I know you're busy. I'm going to get straight to the point. And so people straight away, they kind of, you've taken that barrier down, and you're kind of asking them to give you the time. And generally people tend to, because you've already kind of acknowledged their time and appreciated it. And then you have to then sort of add the value. And it's kind of, is it a challenge that they have that you need to relate to? Are you adding value? Are you telling them about what one of their competitors are doing? You need to think, why are they in this conversation? Why are they going to continue to listen to me? And so straight away you have to hit them with the why. And you can add the sugar and everything like that. So it might be using name drops, like we're working with this person, or it might be talking financial figure, or it might be something that's relative in the news or something. But the more kind of you can embed in there as quickly as possible, so they realize what the conversation's about. And then it's just getting to that next step, isn't it? I mean, whether you're doing it on LinkedIn or having a call, it's always about closing, isn't it? It's always about getting that next step, because sales isn't just a quick thing, is it? That there's a process. It's a dance, I like to say, with the prospects. They like to dance.
Well, 99% of prospects do like to dance. That's why they're on LinkedIn. They want to meet new people. Occasionally, I have people who go, I don't want to connect with you because I don't know you. And my head, I kind of go, you're on LinkedIn, which is a networking platform where we meet other people that we don't know. So why are you on LinkedIn? If you come onto LinkedIn and you don't want to meet other people, then get off LinkedIn. Unless you're trying to brag about how amazing you are, in which case I'll park you. But listening to what you've just said, whether you're a cold caller or whether you're doing cold outreach on LinkedIn, you use the same script, like exactly the same script. The only difference is you're cramming that all into a conversation. And if somebody listened to you and they took what you just said and they itemized it and they used that as their messaging, you've just given them the perfect combination of cold outreach on LinkedIn. Because that's what we do. We need to show you that we know you. So there's a Sam McKenna, I follow her, brilliant sales lady. And she has this thing that says, show me you know me, whenever you have a conversation. So read the profile, because what you're doing is you're saying, hey, Pierre, I've worked with Red Door Consulting, and Red Door Consulting is very similar to you. They need to generate 200 calls a day, but they're finding that they just weren't getting those numbers out. And, we help them optimize that. And that's what I want to talk to you. And I really appreciate you taking the time. You're going to say the same thing on LinkedIn. The only difference is on LinkedIn, you've told me everything. You've told me where you've gone to school. You told me who you like. You told me what you like to follow. You've told me what groups you're part of. You told me where you like to network. So as an individual account-based sales prospect person, I can take my time and I can craft 20 outreach messages every day based on what you said, because that's a good message. Put it together and drop them out. And what I like to say is, and I know it's not a competition, but maybe a little bit, LinkedIn versus cold calling is the key thing I like to point as a differentiator is the initial contact on a cold call. When you hang up, it's dead. You are required to come back and pick up that call. You need a reminder. You need the CRM to pick it up and come back. LinkedIn, that number, that line stays open until the person actively says no, which means I can use your conversation, put that into an outreach message, and it can sit in your inbox for up to 3 weeks before you get to it.
Yeah. See, that's a good thing. I think it's more efficient in that respect. But I guess I guess different channels work for kind of different people. And I think really it's like you say, it's the combination these days that's the most powerful thing. And I think it's like with obviously we kind of deal mostly, I'd say, kind of in B2B, but even in the B2C world, so kind of selling to consumers, even luxury brands, they might have an advert that you see on YouTube, and they might have an advert in the newspaper or in a magazine, and it's actually the kind of the different time times that they kind of it's all kind of on top of each other, in the sense that the more touch points you've had with a brand, the more awareness you have of them, the more likely you're going to be more conducive to buying that product or that service. And it's the same with B2B, but most people just don't realize that. They think they'll make a call and that's it, and it's dead, or they'll reach out, through a cold email or on LinkedIn one time. But it's actually, it's sales, it's one of the, it sounds like a dirty word, isn't it? Sales, people think sales are terrible, but the thing is, it is a case of being persistent. And if you try one way, try another way as well. It's not completely offensive. I mean, if you're bombarding someone, of course, don't do that. But it is about the different channels, isn't it? It's kind of sending a LinkedIn message, maybe a couple of days later give them a call. Oh, hi, sent you a LinkedIn message, checked out your profile, great. I saw that you're actually connected with John. Hey, John, John is actually one of my customers who I've helped, and I might be able to help the same way as you. And so it's those openers, isn't it? And it's kind of having different methods and different strategies to do that. And no, it's interesting. And I've actually had it the other way around. Actually, it doesn't happen as much, but I've called out to people and they're like, oh, sorry, I don't have the time, but hey, look, reach out to me on LinkedIn and we can pick up from there. Because the great thing that people, like you say, know from LinkedIn is they know who you are, they know where you went to school, they know what you've done, and so they get a good sense of you, don't they? I think.
They do a due diligence. And if your due diligence is, and I keep doing this because I see it so many times every day, is I'm so cool, I'm so great, I've done this, I've won this, I'm so impressive. I don't really care. And when I'm doing due diligence, unless I'm going to hire you, even then the odds are I'm looking at your profile going, you're very self-centered, you're arrogant, and it's all about you. Okay. There's nothing about me. You haven't found my problem. You haven't identified my problem. And yes, I can see everything about you. I can build that relationship with you. And I'm going to look at you and I'm going to go, like if I did a call with you and I said, hey, Pierre, sorry, I'm really busy. I'll pick up this. Do you mind if we connect on LinkedIn? Do you want to reach out to me? I might not be fobbing you off. I might be going, I want to see who the hell you are before I talk to you. And if you've got a shit LinkedIn profile, because there's no other way to describe some of these people's profiles, because you haven't taken the time to go to Canva, which is free, and download a header, which is free, and put your name on it, which is free and takes about 10 minutes. And you haven't taken the time to put in your contact details, and you haven't taken the time to tell me a little bit about how you've solved problems. Well, that's my go-to. Then I go down to recommendations. You've got no recommendations that are current. I look at people and they've got recommendations from 2015 as their last recommendation, but they're looking for new business. How do you look for new business if you don't even have a recommendation in the current year that we're in? LinkedIn is dangerous by how much it tells you about the people that you want to do business with.
No, that's interesting. And so I mean, you probably answered it there, but I mean, anybody that's watching this kind of thinking, okay, what do I need to do? What's the perfect, or what's a really good LinkedIn profile? What would you look for? What would you suggest? I mean, if you had to give 5 tips, what would they be to kind of get your profile?
Can I share screen and just take you through the profile?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Because that would be the easiest. Right. It's okay. You're going to share
Just
it.
don't go on mine and say this is what you don't do,
No,
because
no, no.
my I think mine's okay, but I probably could do better. But like you say, I'm not kind of the expert in the LinkedIn side, but so I'm paying attention actually to these tips, and you'll probably see
But
some changes in mine.
you need to let me share because I can't share yet.
Oh, right, okay, let's do that. Oh, how do we do that? Multiple. There we go. Great. I think you should be able to share now.
I can do that. So I'm going to use my profile because it's safer. But you can see the things that are missing. A lot of people haven't personalized their profile. So from an SEO, from a findable point of view, it's their name -78754321. And it's like, why haven't you done that? It takes 2 seconds, but they don't. Then they haven't taken the time to put together a banner. So there's nothing that tells me who they are, what they stand for. And then they haven't put in a call to action. So I've got a little thing that says ring my bell.
That's cool.
If you don't tell me to ring your bell, I won't. If you don't tell me to follow you, I won't. It's not natural for me to do that. Then I get you. And people, this is the first part that anybody sees about you when you leave a comment in somebody else's newsfeed and they see you. They see that first part. And I always suggest make it something that inspires curiosity or makes you smile, which is why I've used the whole concept of smuggling leads into your newsfeed, because I want people to stop. Josh Braun has this great thing called the 3-piece bikini. And everybody goes, what do you mean a 3-piece bikini? A bikini is 2 pieces. And that's the point. You want to stop them and go, 3, right? The buttons. Very few people actually put the button to request a service, book a meeting, or go and look at their website. Contact info. Fill it out. Nobody's going to spam you from here. Set your settings so that people can't spam you, but fill out all your websites, fill out all your telephone number. Don't hide. I want to talk to you. Don't make it hard for me to talk to you. I've got my services page, featured section. Everybody wants to put a featured section together that's got all this successful posts. Basic user journey experience. I'm in LinkedIn, in my newsfeed. I'm going through my newsfeed, boom, here it pops up. I read his post, I read a comment, I go, damn, I want to talk to this guy. I click on it, I go look at his profile. I scroll down, I get to his featured section. In his featured section, he's got a post where he's got 400 likes and 300 engagements because he wants to brag about it. I click on it, I go back into the newsfeed. I then get distracted and goodbye, I never made my appointment. So I don't put anything here that puts you back in the newsfeed. I put the newsletter in so that you can subscribe to it because you don't really want to talk to me. And anyway, it's just a click, 1 click, it's fine. I give you the option to book a call with me if you want. Then I have my content. The whole point of content is, like I said, have something to talk about. You don't need to post every day. That's a repost, that's a repost, that's a repost. So it's adding value to the content. This is where I have my experience. I can't tell you how many profiles I've seen lately where they put their experience in the about section because they're worried that people aren't going to get all the way down to their experience. I'm talking about my pain as a cold caller because this is real for me. And then the thing that you need are recommendations. Okay. Current year recommendations don't hurt. And you'll notice.
So you can ask for them by reaching out. There's a button, isn't there? So when you're working with clients, you can ask them. And do you think it's important then to make sure that they're kind of up to date, and that you're sort of reaching out to a lot of people to do that?
You want to make sure. So one of the tips that we found with recommendations is we don't just ask for a recommendation for the sake of looking good on LinkedIn. When you write a recommendation, and I know some people will write it for you and ask you to post it, I ask them to write it in their own words. And the reason I ask them to write it in their own words is I take all their recommendations, I put it onto a sheet. I take that sheet and I feed it into ChatGTP. And I ask Chat to tell me what was for, what was against, what was the problem, what was the emotion. And in seconds, I get a whole lot of information, insight on all my clients that have given me recommendations. So it's not just about looking good, it's also about getting data that you can actually use. So that's a profile I like. And one of the people, there's a couple of people I follow that have a similar profile.
Just saw Alex Hormozy there. He's brilliant, isn't he?
Yeah, no, I was going to go to him. So Alex, he's got something. He's telling you what to do. He's got a book a call. There, you'll notice all his links, nothing that sends you back into the newsfeed. Okay, then he's got his content, there's his experience, and yeah, he's got recommendations coming out of his ears.
And so you can do this as a business owner of pretty much any business. You don't just have to be kind of like a coach or anything like that. It works for most businesses, doesn't it?
It works for every business. Alex Hormozy, I love him. I think he's brilliant. Very inspirational. Same thing. He's obviously pushing his book. Now, I wouldn't have done this, but then it's Alex. So once I'm reading his content, I'm going to keep coming back because I'm not going to actually book a meeting with him. He has this cool course where you pay $5,000 and you can meet him and his wife for 4 days in Las Vegas. And they'll do a business development course with you where they will personally train you.
Wow. Okay.
I'm going in November. Um, just say, I think
Yeah,
he's
that's
really
cool.
what he
Wow.
does.
No, yeah, no, because he's always sort of like he's always had this, I guess, kind of content strategy, and like what I like about him, he's always said, like, I'm not selling anything, so because so like initially he's not sort of pushing anything on anybody, and he's got this kind of natural way of the social media kind of being the funnel itself, and kind of the more that you kind of invest yourself kind of watching it, the kind of more kind of engaged with the actual value you're getting from it. And he is kind of value first and then sell, and he's not kind of scared of giving value, is he, kind of initially? And I think that's definitely the right way, and I think that's very similar to you as well. I think you kind of put and curate content out there that you find that's right and that's working. So yeah, no, it's really interesting because a lot of people, the old-fashioned way of selling is definitely to say this is what I do and try to kind of explain and convey the value without actually showing it. And I guess the digital kind of realms now, all these different platforms, your LinkedIn and all the different platforms give a way of actually conveying what you do and your value first. And it makes sense, doesn't it?
And anybody who's watching it, if they drop a DM to me saying PC Wolf,
Mm.
I will do a free audit on their profile, like I've just done.
Oh, wow, fantastic.
No
Yeah, no,
sales
so
cost, no
definitely,
cost. I'll do
definitely.
that, but they've got to put in PC Wolf. Otherwise,
Excellent.
they don't get it. But
Yeah, so they go onto so if they just go onto your LinkedIn and send you a message and put PC Wolf, and yeah, no, that's very kind of you, yeah, to do that. So yeah, if you're looking for any tips or you're wanting to kind of brush up your LinkedIn profile, reach out to Kenneth and he'll help you do that. But yeah, no, Kenneth, as always, it's been amazing kind of talking to you briefly and kind of getting the difference between the two worlds. Although it's very much the kind of the same world, but it's different, isn't it? It's almost cars to motorbikes, and
both of them are motorized transport that will get you from point A to point B. One of them you'll arrive live, the other one you'll arrive without skin, but both of them work. But
definitely no.
it's cold calling works absolutely. It's getting harder. There's more gateways, gatekeepers, but with the right tactics, decent call people like yourself can actually make it work. And some people need that kind of thing. Um, but when you get into smaller businesses that don't have the budget to pay for a seat, LinkedIn is a way to start. I mean, I started with zero budget, built my business without any investment, and it's all boiled down to LinkedIn. Using LinkedIn, people say I'm busy, but in the same breath, I don't have enough business. Well, how can you be busy if you don't have enough business? That means you've been busy keeping busy to justify that you've done a good day's work, but actually you didn't grow the business and you're not making money. LinkedIn is the tool for anybody who's a solopreneur, up to about a 5-man business. LinkedIn works like a bomb. Hell, it works for major corporates. I work with a big financial company who does payments, and their one corporate team have 7 salespeople. The one person who, without fail, hits quota every month lives on LinkedIn. All the other guys work, networking, they're hustling a deal. He's just on LinkedIn doing his shit, and he's smashing the numbers. So
Definitely.
if you don't have budget and you need help, LinkedIn works. If you've got budget, LinkedIn and cold calling together means you don't need to do shit because you can give them your profile, you can warm it up, then pick up the call, make the appointment, and hopefully I've got a sales rep who'll go and see it and close the deal and show up for the meeting, because that must gut you when you guys make meetings and people don't show up.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, it's the key is in the calls to try to best convey the value as to why they would have that next step. But no, it's difficult. I mean, you do inevitably get the odd sort of no show here or there, and it's it is tough. And I think that's sometimes where perhaps you kind of oversold, or I guess you can get it. I mean, even from sort of paid ads, sometimes people book demos, and then perhaps they don't put such a strength, or it's a bit further down the line and they forget, and so yeah, it's one of those inevitable things in sort of marketing. But yeah, I think to your point about people who don't have enough sales, but then they think they're too busy to do anything. It's called leverage, right? So it's reaching out to you, it's reaching out to Big Wolf, and it's about kind of using a service, using people to help you, do the best for yourself, and it can be really cost effective. So I would say if you're busy and yet you're still complaining you don't have enough business, you need to reach out to Kenneth. You need to reach out to Big Wolf Marketing.
First, you need to be honest with yourself
Mhm.
and see if you really are that busy.
Yeah,
And if
yeah.
you really are, then reach out to us. Um,
Definitely, yes. Some people don't know what busy is. They're kind of they'll be kind of just looking on LinkedIn, or they'll be busy doing the wrong thing sometimes. And I think it's working out where you spend. And in fact, actually, I think it's Alex Hormozy who has this kind of time tracker thing of working out. Where you spend your time, sort of writing
yes,
down what you're doing, and
yes.
oh, is that actually generating sales? Is that actually productive? And I guess that would probably be a suggestion, wouldn't it, to people who think they're too busy, is
Yeah,
work out what you're doing.
where is it? I actually think I have that link. Um, uh,
But I think that's one of the real tips of the ultra successful. And when I say kind of ultra successful, these people wish to kind of attain the sort of wealth of billionaires and things like that. Well, they are the most. I mean, if you look at diaries of Elon Musk, for example, I think he times it. I mean, could be wrong, but I think I saw something that he times it every sort of 10 minutes. He's got a different meeting or a different topic, and it's back to back. And I think you have to have an agenda like that. You have to have a diary like that. I mean, don't work yourself into the grave, or don't
just,
burn yourself out.
just
But
as a caveat,
mm,
while Elon Musk does work an 18-hour day, he does also take 3 days off and go on a binge smoking weed and drinking.
he spends most of his time on Twitter, I think, or X, doesn't he? But I guess that's working.
So he does balance it out. Just he's extreme in his balance. I read his autobiography. That's what I'm saying. He would
Oh,
have weekends where he would go away, and it would be drinking and smoking.
but then so did Bill Gates, I think. He would do this thing where he would go, and I'm probably completely wrong in kind of quoting this, but I think he would go somewhere to the wilderness into like a shed. I mean, I know Bill Gates. I mean, I don't know Bill Gates, but knowing who he is, it probably isn't a shed, but to kind of like a
A
some
$10
place in the
million
outback.
shed in the
Yeah,
bush.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. With just a briefcase of books, that he would kind of, that thirst for knowledge, isn't it? And that would be kind of his escape. But I think if you're working really, really hard, you need that escape. For some people, it's getting away and kind of being with yourself, and some people it's spending time with the families. But you do need that balance, don't you? Kind of whatever you're doing. Ultimately, success in itself is kind of, what is success? I mean, success is being happy, isn't it? And if you don't have that balance, you don't have happiness. So you can be working so hard, pushing and pushing for all these leads to make all this money. And when you've got all the money, so many people look back at their life and they think, well, that what really mattered, it wasn't, this, building this or this money. It's actually my family. So it's all about balance. And I think that's a nice way to draw it to an end. But Ken, as always, so lovely to catch up, and we're gonna have to catch up in person at some point soon. I'm in Portugal at the moment, but we'll
Oh,
have
tough
to.
life.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know it's
When
a
you're
hot
back in
life
Reading, let's have a coffee
for
or in
sure.
London.
Yeah,
Either way. But yeah, let's not wait 4 years again, shall we?
no, definitely not. Let's not have another pandemic between.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah,
but no,
let's
but
do that.
thank you so much. It's been great, and I'll put this out on YouTube on sort of the Big Wolf Marketing one and my one as well, so people can sort of see the tips and everything. And if of course if they want to reach out to you, they go onto your LinkedIn or onto your website. What's your website? Just to bring it to people's attention.
It's called The Digital Coach 101 because I do digital coaching, which was the fourth element of the conversation. So we've got connections, conversations, content, and coaching. And that creates the ecosystem. So if you're looking for me, go for the digital coach, because it's all digital, 101, because 101 is the basics, right? And if you get the basics right, everything works. And if you just Google me, or even better still, just Google me, Kenneth Nel. Unfortunately, there's a lot of me on the first page, as my daughter tells me, as my wife tells me, as all my friends tell me, oh, Kenneth, yes, we Google Kenneth. And I'm like, oh, right, so just Google me. You'll find me at the top of the page.
That's always a good problem to have, isn't it? And you know you're doing something right when you're on the front page of Google for the search term. So no, that's amazing. But yeah, as again, thank you so much. It's been lovely catching up, and I'm definitely I think I'm going to go onto my LinkedIn and make some improvements a
Cool.
little bit
I'm
later
going to
today or
watch.
certainly this week.
I'm going to check it out once it's done.
Excellent. Well, great catching up. Thanks a lot, Kenneth. And yeah, I'll if you're watching this video, subscribe and all that good stuff. And yeah, and definitely check out Kenneth on his LinkedIn and his website as well.
Lovely. Pierre, thanks for having me. Chat soon.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, Kenneth. Speak to you soon. It's been good catching up.
Likewise, man. Cheers, cheers. Bye.
Take care. Bye bye.